The issue of rice revolution has been in public discourse since the coming of the Buhari administration. And in view of this initiative of government, rice is widely produced in virtually all the states of the Federation. And 26 out of the 36 states and Abuja have become major rice producing states. This success story many attribute to the dogged commitment of the Buhari administration in its policy of boosting food production commercially and rice in particular to attain self-sufficiency and economic prosperity. Both the large scale and the peasantry have increased their acreage twofold in response to various government policies to encourage the production of the commodity. Fundamentally, the huge potentials of rice production in its value chain circle has made producers to increase their yields. Now the government has set the stage and what is the way for sustainable food production and rice production in general. These and others, we'll discuss it on Tuesday. I'll have you welcome. And I have in the studio the Executive Governor of Kebbi State, Alhaji Abubakar Atiku Bagudu, and I is the Presidential Task Force on Rice and Wheat. He's the President Task Force on Rice and Wheat, Vice Chairman National Food Security Council. He was economic lecturer in economics in Usman Danfodi University. He was a banker, or he is a banker and a businessman, and now a rice producer, I suppose.
Right.
You're welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Thank you. And wheat as well.
Thank you.
Yes. And I have Malam Ilyasu Awodi, Deputy National Secretary, Rice Farmers Association of Nigeria. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, let me start with His Excellency. Being we're going to that, but let's have a focus. We're starting with you, Your Excellency, but let's have a focus on what the government is doing and what Nigeria is achieving in rice production. We have the background report by Musa Babali.
Nigeria was housing less than 5 million rice farmers as at 2015, producing less than 3 million tons of rice, while the country's demand of the commodity is more than 7 million metric tons. But as at October this year, over 12 million farmers are producing more than 15 million tons of paddy rice across the country.
Number of farmers.
My interaction with farmers in 7 states I visited shows that their output per hectare has increased from 1 ton to 5 and 7 tons per hectare, depending on the location.
We have never had fertilizer at a very controlled price in this country until now. This presidential initiative brings fertilizer to the farmers at 5,000 and 5,500 sustainably, and that is very, very good.
The rice revolution is not only impacting on the national production of the country, but also on the socio-economic well-being of more than 12 million farmers and the citizenry. Women, as major drivers of the rice revolution train, are also the largest beneficiaries of the change initiative. This group of women who are into rice processing in Taraba State, northeast Nigeria, says that rice revolution has improved their fortunes, especially as the demand for the local processed rice is rising. In neighboring Benue State, women are actively participating in rice production in spite of the environmental challenges prevalent in the state. Their active participation in rice production has generated more than 2 billion naira thanks to the federal government support program. Loko Goma is another community in Niger State where rice is produced and processed. Women in this locality and others in all the 25 local government areas of the state received training on modern techniques of rice processing.
And after we decided to bag it, we don't have sealing machine. We talk to them again, they bring sealing machine for us again. After 2 weeks again, our weighing scale is very small. If you want to weigh 20 bags, our one cannot carry these 20 bags. After 1 week, they bring weighing scale for us again.
To further enhance women participation in rice production, the federal government is set to empower women rice farmers with modern rice processing machinery.
We intend to do that. Big mills, small mills, medium mills, so we can mill all Nigerian rice to the same standard. Using stainless steel drums, dryers, pie-balling units, destoners, and so on. So no rice coming out of any rice mill anywhere in the country is substandard.
In the area of milling, the country is now housing over 26 integrated rice milling factories against the 9 in 2015. 18 medium and more than 200 small scale also came on board in less than 3 years.
I believe that the farming, the paddy farming has been in the increase in the last 2-3 years. So we have to face that challenge by putting more mills so that we don't leave the farmers with their paddy.
Analysts in commodity value chain describe rice, wheat and maize as crop with international interests. As such, countries are being discouraged to become self-sufficient in that regard. In Abuja, Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
Thank you, Musa. Well, we are coming into the discussion. We'll have phone calls and entertain them, and when the time comes, you call and you talk straightforward without perhaps taking much time in greetings, and you tune down the volume of your handset. You're welcome once again.
Thank you.
Yes. Let's start from the beginning. What I mean from the beginning is that Nigeria has had lots of agri-revolution policy. You know, over the years, we had back to land, green revolution, Operation Feed the Nation. And today we have an agricultural policy that intends to bring back all those values of agriculture as far as the economy is concerned. The Buhari administration, some people target as the rice revolution and perhaps what the nation adopts. How do you see this development over the years and today? How dogged are we? What is the result? I remember you have a relationship with Lagos State, with the lake rice and what have you. How do you see the movement today?
Thank you. And thank you for inviting us with my co-panelist. What I see is an evolution, a positive evolution of policy. We have tried many things before, we have learned, we have experienced, but what President Muhammadu Buhari's administration did was to be very clear about the policy. And I'll quote from him when he say, let us grow what we eat and eat what we grow. Because we have for long accepted our potential, and I think the world has reckoned with our potential, but the limitation has been our ability to figure out how to translate our potential into substance. And now it is being done. And it is being done because the policy is clear that to the extent that Nigerian farmers, millers, traders are willing, they have an administration under the able leadership of President Muhammadu Buhari that will support the value chain to bring out our competitiveness, as we certainly are, and that in more than even feeding Nigeria with rice, being able to export rice to both neighboring countries and other countries in the world.
Yes.
So in a short period, a little bit under 3 years, we are today awash with paddy, that there is no part of Nigeria that is short of paddy production. Yields have gone up significantly from, in many places, from as little as 1 ton per hectare or less to as much as 6-7 tons per hectare. So this has boosted production. Milling capacity is increasing. The confidence of the Nigerian people in Nigerian rice has grown tremendously, and the measures put in place, policy consistency, support by the Central Bank of Nigeria, which is making financing available both for the farmers and the millers and the distributors, and support by the Nigerian people to appreciate what God has blessed us with, that Nigerian rice is actually better than most of the imported rice, and ability of our security agencies to confront the monster of smuggling have all combined to generate a value chain that is working well, and where a lot of experience, to the extent that today we don't need to import rice, even though rice has not been officially banned, but we don't need to import rice because millers, small and large, are having adequate paddy.
Yes. We don't need to import rice. Are we happy with these, Malam Ilyasu?
Yes, of course, we should be happy because...
and are we comfortable with that statement? We don't need to import rice now.
Very comfortable. The only snag we have now, maybe the flood, which ravaged so many hectares of rice farm. Notwithstanding, if you observe, if it was in the past, by this time, there would have shortage of paddy in the market.
Yeah.
But now, it is now that the farmers are harvesting their rice, despite the fact that we suspect maybe 70 to 80% of our farmers lost their yield during the last flood.
Why one?
And if I should add something to what His Excellency has just said, you know, the Uncle Brewers program, you know, is private sector driven, with CBN providing all the funds. You know, it was not the hectic way a farmer goes to the commercial banks, months try to get, you know, facilities to go to the farm. But this has been made easy. In fact, it is called cashless Uncle Brewers program, in the sense that we try to minimize the use of giving cash to the farmers. So all they need in inputs are provided for them to go to farm. So with this arrangement, the federal government has given, as His Excellency said, you know, this is targeted on the small-scale farmers, the peasant farmers, who hitherto didn't know how to get facilities in the bank. The Rice Farmers Association of Nigeria made it possible because it has a well-organized staffing from the states down to the ward levels. And I think we have a total of 108,000 officials that man this Uncle Brewers program.
Yes. Well, Prop, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes, we have Dr. Idu Edwin. You're welcome, Associate Professor of Agriculture Extension and Team Leader, Rice Africa. Rice Africa.
Thank you.
We're trying to be self-sufficient in Nigeria. But we are taking the whole of Africa you know, in the cognizance of what we do in Kano. How do you come in Rice Africa? How do you see the determination of Nigeria to go it alone, to go it with self-sufficiency in agriculture?
Thank you very much. Since 2011, Rice Africa is a public-private partnership initiative that was started in 2011 to bring stakeholders in the rice value chain to address issues in the value chain and to create the necessary synergy that will support the rice industry. And we brought stakeholders together in 2011 to discuss the issues because we saw the disjointed value chain. And that meeting has given guide to policy discourse for government in the area of rice production and processing in Nigeria. And when this government came in, they step up that policy action in the rice industry. And that is why we are seeing a lot of initiative. One of the speakers have mentioned the Anchor Borrowers Program, which is a very good initiative. The tax break for importers of agro machineries and agro equipment has also helped. So, and especially the cluster development. The Excellency Governor of Kebbi is here, and we know that the success story we are seeing from Kebbi State, in Ebonyi State, and other states today is as a result of the cluster development initiative that the Anchor Borrowers Program is supporting. So the country is on the right track for sustainability.
Yes, you see, when we talk about policies, especially in a democracy like ours, there are some people in quote say detractors of progress, and some say perhaps maybe they've been caught napping as far as the economy is concerned and as it relates to food. Let me start from the beginning. And when you go back to the inaugural address of President Muhammad Buhari, when he says unemployment, notably youth unemployment, features strongly in our party's manifesto. We're talking about all these Anchor Borrowers and youth assistance. We intend to attack the problem frontally through revival of agriculture. That was what the first thing he said. Then he says solid minerals mining, as well as credits to small and medium-sized businesses to kick-start these enterprises. We shall quickly examine the best way to revive major industry, blah, 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 and what have you. Are we on track, as the President promised, as far as rice production, let me put it in particular, and towards food security in the country, going by what the President said? And he speaks about the Anchor Borrower scheme and what have you. Kebbi State has been the center.
Absolutely. Absolutely, we are on track. Production has gone up significantly. Many millions of farmers have been mobilized. Today, the Rice Farmers Association of Nigeria they have offices in Maitama, which is an evidence of how luxurious it has become to be a rice farmer. Rice millers, our business is booming. President Muhammadu Buhari has been to Kano to commission a rice mill. Vice President Yomi Osibajo has been to Argungu to commission a rice mill. Many rice mills are under construction. You go to a lot of rice mills today, you meet trucks and trucks of paddy waiting to upload. The premier arrangement we had with Lagos, which led to creation of a rice brand called Lake Rice, served to prove that we can do it. The Lagosians and the people of Nigeria embraced Nigerian rice like no other time before. The investment into the agriculture, into the rice sector is growing, and the Federal Ministry of Agriculture has taken steps in conjunction with many states to ensure that women millers and small processors that used to dominate rice processing have not lost out. So a lot of small mills are being distributed to women groups, both by state governments and by the federal government across the nation. And so all the elements of a revolution are in place. People mobilized, critical mass developing, confidence enveloping, so that everyone says, oh, so this is what we have been missing out. And countries of the world now are beginning to acknowledge that, oh, so when Nigeria said it's going to do something, we better believe them, because they will do it. And the rice story has shown that in President Muhammadu Buhari's administration, because every stakeholder has been mobilized. And this linked to our food security quest, because rice is a crop that grows in 36 Nigerian states and FCT, and we are seeing more being done in all the states. Rice is produced and consumed locally mostly. So in all the rice producing communities in Nigeria, there has been increase in quality, increase in yield, increase in hectarage under production, increase in employment, increase in incomes. And so all those things that President Muhammadu Buhari promised or even dreamt in his inaugural address are coming together, and the buy-in is quite strong. Detractors, we have to understand that Nigeria is competing with other countries. Agricultural sector is the most distorted sector internationally. The Western or the industrialized nations that are wealthier than us are using a system of support and subsidies to protect their market and to even dump upon us. We can see it every day. Just about 2 months, 3 months ago, there was a story by the U.S. administration providing $12 billion of support to U.S. farmers in order to compensate for the trade issues, war that has broken out with China and some part of the industrialized world. Nigeria has not spent up to $500 million to support the rice production, but yet we are almost at a position where we are feeding ourselves, we are self-sufficient, everyone is happy, versus where the last act of President Obama in office was to lodge a complaint at the World Trade Organization that Chinese subsidies are in excess of about $100 billion. These are not small numbers. So we are competing in the world with countries that are using their muzzle to compete. They are using their muzzle to dominate trade. So even where we are competitive and we can sell to them, the system of protection, the barriers they have erected by a support system that lowers the cost of production unfairly, means that we are unable to sell to them. But even in spite of all those obstacles, the recognition by President Muhammadu Buhari's administration has helped us to evolve a policy firmly, and we are gaining traction, we are achieving our objectives, and I believe we will defeat the naysayers. The Nigerian, like I said earlier, Nigerian people have embraced properly, for good reason, that, oh, Nigerian rice is better than imported rice. I have met with, in my role as the chairman of the Presidential Task Force, I have met with rice distributors in the Aleko, Jikapa market in Lagos, Ido market, and those very, very patriotic women and men who are in the rice value chain, and their story is the same. We have no business importing rice from anywhere. We should be the ones who should be exporting rice.
Yes, you have office in Maitama now.
Yes, that is the truth.
Your courtesy of Rice Initiative in Nigeria.
Of course. We want to thank this administration for that.
Yes. But in the past, we find even organization, people to organize themselves into certain farmers group and whatever, it become difficult. What is the push today, like the Rice Farmers Association?
You see, the Rice Farmers Association, in the first place, went into cluster formations or cooperatives of 20 per cluster. That's the maximum. You can have 15. And the loan given, the members of that clusters provide the security for each one of the farmers. Because if there's any default, the rest 19 out of 20 will take responsibility. So there is seriousness in the way they do their work. Let me give you a story of one old woman. During this flood, we went to Kogi State, went to quite a few states to see the devastations there. So we went to one village, Domata, they call it Sinibaji, local government. They were living in the hills, so they normally come out in the mornings, to see what they can salvage around. So when they saw a team, insurance, Central Bank, Unity Bank, and Bank of Agriculture, these are the team that form the responsibility for handling this Akoborowas program. So when they came, we wanted to know how, because it was water all over. And there's one small street that came in. It's even a third road that you can go to the east. Then they gathered there. They said, but how are we sure you farmed here? Somebody just dived into the water and brought out, the rotten, because it had already matured.
Yeah, before the flood.
So when we were leaving, they asked an old woman, to talk on behalf of the farmers there. She shocked us. Said, no, the first question they asked her whether they got any succor from the federal government. After they say quite a few got, but that shouldn't be their problem. Their problem is go and tell the government to help us with seeds and herbicide because we want to go back to the land. To do what with that? To do what? Say no, because we want to pay back that loan. Her concern was how to pay the loan. So you can see the drive, in the local people in the villages, how, they so love this Akoborowas program. And again, issue of these detractors you mentioned. I think a few days ago I read in the paper that the federal government has started issuing import licenses to import rice. And they say they had already given import license for 5,000 metric tons. Is it not laughable? Our maximum, what we need is about 7 million metric tons. And you are accusing the federal government for giving out import license for 5,000. Even my village, 200 farmers can produce that. So you can see how foolish even the detractors are when they are making allegations against the government. Because the government confirmed there was no FOMM issue. And you cannot import anything to this country without a FOMM. So virtually, I would say without any fear of favor, that this government stick to its gun to ensure that importation of rice is banned. It's just another way of telling the country, the whole country that will have banned rice importation. But except the one that are smuggled, which is one of our biggest destructors in this country.
Yeah, Dr. Idu, and he's so passionate about Akoborowas scheme, federal government injecting into the system of rice production, a kind of lift to the farmer.
Yes.
How do you see the value change in that direction? How do we increase production and post-production value addition through the government sustaining that those lifting the farmer himself?
Yes, not just the farmer, but even the processors, because it's helping to improve their capacity utilization. That is the processors. Why it's helping to increase the output of the farmers. We have advocated in different fora that government should support the central bank and also the governors in sustaining this anchor borrowers program, because we have seen that the one-digit interest rate that they gave, which is about 6%, the almost cashless or providing input to farmers is a clear departure from other government support in the past, where government will allocate billions to support farmers and commercial banks will not make this available to the farmers. So we
today have Bank of Agriculture.
Yes, but yet the assessing loan through this through those means were still difficult for the farmers until the anchor borrowers scheme came in, because you know that farmers cannot really think of paying back when you are giving them a loan at 16%, 18%, or 22%. But the anchor borrower program has made it easy for them and to really key into that program. And that is why we are seeing more of this and the scaling up of the anchor borrower program from KB State and to other states that are really enjoying the program now.
Are you comfortable with that arrangement?
Oh, yes. But before then, if I can quickly add to what he says about the flooding challenges. Flooding is sad. It's a sad development.
We're coming to that because you're one of the states that hosts history.
Yes, okay, but then I can. To come back to the anchor borrowers, the anchor borrowers have done quite wonderful, because credit access by farmers at the low end has been a major militant against the development of agriculture. And central bank, following from the commitment and guidance by President Muhammadu Buhari, opened their window and really appreciated, and with its sister agency, which is NISAL, Nigeria Incentive Risk-Based Agricultural Lending, they moved to de-risk lending to agriculture so that it will become less risky. That's why we are talking about cashless transactions. That's why we are getting input providers to key into the anchor borrowers program, so that less cash is given to the farmer. It's more input, what he needs at what time he needs it, packaging. And under the presidential fertilizer initiative, fertilizer is available at 5,000 to 5,500 in most parts of the country, or at all times, and farmers can buy as much as they want. And there have been periodic reviews and engagement, some of them chaired by the Vice President, and more importantly, even chaired by the President himself. There was one time where Mr. President hosted the Rice Farmers Association, rice millers, rice distributors, and those of us in the Presidential Task Force. And I believe we spent over 3 hours discussing the value chain, the challenges, the support, and appreciation. So I think it's a golden moment, and I'm glad about the response. More importantly, that the Nigerian people have seen the commitment of Mr. President, and they have responded to it, and we are proving to the world that we are capable.
Yes. If I may add, you see, immediately after the flood, because the government is so proactive, they quickly called the Minister for Agriculture, called all the stakeholders in the rice value chain for a meeting. They wanted to know, with this flood, what happens? Because there is fear in the country that there will be starvation. What we gave him was that we are going to organize more farmers for the dry season, so that before the rainy season paddy gets to a certain level, by April, hopefully, we should be, harvesting a dry season farming. Or maybe about 500,000 farmers.
How could you determine perhaps the performance of the rainy season at a time? Because it appears that now is so sporadic across the globe, where they were not experiencing flooding, they experience it today. Well, I think before I come to the federal government strategy on the aftermath of the flood, let me come back to the governor, because he wanted to explain certain things. It becomes a kind of hurdle to rice cultivation in the country. How do you experience it as a governor and at the task force level?
Like I said, flooding is sad, but we are not alone. Global climate change and is imposing weather conditions that occasionally may cause damage to crops, and this year certainly it has been quite extensive. But what is comforting is response by both states, federal government, and the people of Nigeria. And as said by the representative of the Rice Farmers Association, already the federal government has taken steps to ensure assessment of damage done, and the president has graciously approved for a meeting of the National Food Security Council to review the damage, the estimates, and the response. Not emergency response in the sense of SEMA providing roofing materials, but seedlings, fertilizer, compensation that could be afforded, could be extended to farmers in order to compensate for some of the losses, and then in order to sustain production. Luckily in Nigeria, we have both upland and lowland rice production. So in the rainy season, even when you have flooding, some of the rice crop might escape flooding, that which is in the upland belt. So we are a lucky nation in the sense that in many places the rice crop can be produced 3 times in both lowland and highlands areas. So there's always the opportunity to do more in one season. And our rice farmers now are increasingly more accustomed or more comfortable with the rainy season farming. So as the flood water is receding, farmers are willing to plant. And we have evidence collected from various markets as of yesterday shows that there is adequate paddy availability in most markets, and there is no significant, but that is not to say that farmers should not be supported to compensate. Some of them have borrowed. We need to consider that, and some of them need to plant in order to recoup the losses.
Yes. I'll come back to you on that, the issue of the convergent points between the government and the governed, the farmers and the private sector generally. But we have a phone call. Hello, you're welcome to Tuesday Live. We have a caller on the line. Welcome to Tuesday Live. Go ahead and speak.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hello, good evening. My name is Yusuf. I'm from Abuja.
You're welcome.
Hello.
Go ahead and speak. Go ahead. You're online.
What I want to contribute is of 2 aspects. The first one is the issue of price. How can we have price control on Nigerian made rice? It's very important, especially this question goes direct to the executive governor of Kebbi State.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you very much. Yes. Yeah, perhaps, price control?
Well, the Nigerian rice has done very well. In 2015, 2016, prices went up to about 19,000 naira per 50 kilogram bag. But today, prices, even without intervention, are in the region of 14 to 15,000. About a year and a half ago, Mr. President graciously approved an intervention to support the billers and distributors in retooling their supply chain so that rice can be available, Nigerian rice can be available in the major market. Because once you are changing the supply model from an import model that brings it to the port areas and where the distributors are largely located to a model which now takes it from the millers to they need to be supported. And Mr. President graciously approved 5 billion naira for intervention, which helped support the prices. And it stabilizes the price in the region of 13,500 to 14,000. And the way we have seen the price moving, we want farmers and other investors to be rewarded while trying to achieve lower prices for the consumers. And we believe with the way production and milling capacity are growing, we are anticipating that we will reach lower of about 10,000 or 11,000 with minimal support by the federal government. And I think we want sustainability, and we want the government, even though I earlier alluded to the fact that we are competing with countries who are spending billions of US dollar, but with the little we are doing, because we are doing it right, because of the commitment of our national leadership and the acceptance of the Nigerian people, we are achieving results that hitherto are unimaginable.
If I may add, you see, it was discovered that to produce 1 kilogram of processed rice in Nigeria, you spend 90 cents, almost $1. But in the South Asian countries where rice is massively produced, the cost is just 50 cents, or just half. So because of this, the federal government has an arrangement, with some banks to give a cushion to the producers. I think they call it RIPSS, Rice Producers Support Scheme. And they want to even bring down the interest element down to 5%, so that the producers will be able to produce, so that it can cut down the cost of production, so that the value of paddy, or rather processed rice, as the governor said, to maybe about 10,000. That is what we are hoping to achieve within the next maybe few months.
Dr. Edu, yes.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think, yes, the production, when you are going into production, at the early stage, the cost of the production is always very high. But as you produce and the market is there for you, you also begin to look at your customers' interest. And I think that is what is happening in the market. Like the Excellency, the governor said, that initially the price was getting to almost 20,000, 19,000, 20,000. Yes. But right now, it's coming down right now. I think there's this market variability is favoring us already in terms of the price.
We have a caller online. Hello, you're welcome. This is Tuesday Live. Hello, good evening. You're welcome.
Good evening.
Yeah, evening.
My name is Abuja from Jeba.
This
is the type of president we want in this country. This is the type of president we want in this country. Everything has changed. I'm really happy, and I thank the president. May God bless him and all his family. This is the type of president we want. So that's my contribution.
Thank you very much for that contribution. Thank you very much. You've heard it all. I know the governor is laughing, Yeah, as the president's task force on rice and wheat. We are talking about rice, actually, but when you talk about global food security as it affects Nigeria, I'm coming to you directly, you the farmers. When you talk about rice, it's the most viable, readily available staple in the Nigerian table. How ready are you, especially now when the government give the push. They said, show the light and people will find the way. You've been finding the way, you've organized yourself, you embrace the Ankoboro scheme and so many aspects of government initiative towards that production. Inputs especially. How do you source inputs? How do you get it readily available? How do you really liaise with government?
You see, I think sourcing inputs in Nigeria is not really a difficult thing to do. The input suppliers are there. There are very many. And in many cases, we have to weed quite a lot to get the best that will serve the association. So that one, we don't have a problem at all. And we are very ready, to ensure food sustainability in Nigeria, because already registration is ongoing in all the states, local governments, and ward levels to register as many farmers as we can. We have a target, maybe 5, 6, or 700,000. If we can get to 1 million, if the government will support us, the farmers are ready. So we don't see any problem at all with rice production. And I'm sure that is also available to other commodity, products that is being produced in Nigeria.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I will come to the governor on that aspect. When you say if the government is ready.
Well,
yes.
Well,
as the Vice Chairman, National Food Security Council, which Mr. President himself chairs. But before I come to the governor, talking about these imports, the governor talked about resilience, seeds. We used to have the Narika rice, and we come to Faro 44, 45, 46, and
52,
49, up to 52.
Of course.
Yes.
So
we have variety in the country.
67 now.
Yes. Pest control, it doesn't have to care about, you don't have to care about that. Flooding, when it comes, there are some rice that grow above the water level. And we have so many, just as you said, the upland rice and the ones you plant in the normal traditional form of cultivating rice in the waters.
Yes.
How ready is Nigeria's strategy in that respect?
Yes, Nigeria has an agency called the NCRI. NCRI is the National Cereal Research Research Institute and Bedegi. And they have been on breeding program to bring new varieties of rice. You know that the two major varieties that the African variety before were the Oryza sativa and the Oryza glaberrima. But when the ADB commissioned some breeders to do a hybridization, they came up with a hybrid called the Nerika, the new rice for Africa. Now, the new rice for Africa, because African region has different ecology. So because of that, NCRI has to carry out further research and to bring out the FARO. The FARO is the Federal Agri Research Oryza. The Oryza is still the original family name. The original family.
Sativa.
Yes, of the sativa. So now we have the FAROs. The FAROs are also classified into the upland and the lowland. So for upland, we have the FARO 63, FARO 64, FARO 65. Some of these varieties are high yielding, resistant to drought, and some of them are resistant to blast, and some of them early maturing, and even the cooking quality. So these are the characteristics of some of them. And most importantly, some of them, the new varieties that are coming, these FAROs, FARO 63, 50, 64, 65, upland, some of them give as high as 5 to 6 tons per hectare.
Yes.
And when we come to the lowland, we still have the FARO 44, which they call the CP. And then we have the FARO 52, FARO 57. These are also for lowland varieties. And these are also giving as high as 4 to 5 tons per hectare. And you know that
What was the story before?
The story before was we were having just about 2 tons per hectare. So, but because of these scientific programs that we are on ground, and because NCRI is working and bringing up these new varieties that could cope with our ecology and our environment, these new varieties are helping to increase the output. So we have so many varieties now that farmers have opportunities to plant in their different locations, whether it's lowland and upland. That is why we can have up to 3 times of cycle, three cycles in a year. Yes. For some of these varieties.
In virtually all the states of the Federation, we'll come to that. I know KB is working towards that. We have reached that target of 3 times production of rice in a year.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, we have a caller online. Hello, you're welcome. This is Tuesday Live. Good evening. You're welcome to Tuesday Live.
Yes. I'm Umar Anati, calling from Birnin Kebbi.
You're welcome, Anachi.
You see, one thing is that we Nigerians, we have to tell our leaders the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. The truth is that the Uncle Borua program is well planned, well organized, well arranged on paper. But when it comes to implementation, that is where the problem is. The Uncle Borua program was poorly implemented. More especially here in Kebbi State, His Excellency testifying witness. There was even a time that he came to produce, he himself, he came to produce to sack some of the handlers of that program. So it was well planned on paper, but badly implemented. And one thing that I appreciate Buhari administration is the availability of fertilizer. He has got credit on that, and we thank him for that. There is no way you can achieve much without the availability of fertilizer. Buhari administration have credit on that.
Yes.
And the Kebbi State, they said, is a source of lake rice. I would like to see how lake rice look like, please. If His Excellency, Governor of Kebbi State, is the implementer, the programmer of lake rice, the arrangement of lake rice, please, we would like to see how lake rice is being produced, how lake rice look like. Because I have been searching all through Birnin Kebbi. I couldn't see one pack of lake rice. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anachi. Incidentally, we are coming to the governor before the phone call. Let's start from that, the issue of fertilizers and the Uncle Borua scheme. He said implementation is not too good. You have to intervene at one time.
I'm glad he acknowledged the sufficiency of fertilizer thanks to the presidential initiative. The Uncle Borua's program is a funding program whereby the Central Bank of Nigeria makes money available through commercial banks or through the Bank of Agriculture, who in turn lend this money to participating farmers. What has been a source of misunderstanding across the country is that in the model, in different parts of the country, in the southern part, because of the land clearing, the money that is lent to a farmer per hectare is slightly higher than in the northern part. For example, in Kebbi State, the model, the pilot scheme, which was the first one that we started, which is a pilot scheme, the model assumed a maximum of 210,000 naira per hectare. And so one source of misunderstanding was this 210,000 naira is the maximum. It does not mean any farmer who wants to borrow must borrow 210,000. He can borrow according to his need. Maybe he has invested 30,000, 50,000, 100,000 of his own money, so he only needs 100,000. And then under the model, the money is not to be given in cash. It can be water pump, it can be fertilizer, and is given sequentially at different times of the production chain. So understandably, a program that involves banking, people who are coming into banking for the first time, a program that involves commercial bankers lending money, or even Bank of Agriculture lending money to a big number of people that it is hitherto accustomed to, can understandably have one or two problems, but the success rate has been phenomenal. We are not talking about 100% success rate. There will be learning processes, there will be mistakes, and but it's not a government program. It's not Kebbi State borrowing to distribute to farmers. It has been a very government is midwife, and why Kebbi became prominent was we took up this challenge early, and we wanted to help demonstrate that it can work. Yes. But it's not a government lending program. What about Lake Rice? Lake Rice is not in Kebbi. Lake Rice is a product of an initiative between Lagos and Kebbi State. And what we wanted to show, and we thank God that it has been achieved, is that Nigerian rice can meet the highest standard and be accepted in the most critical market in Nigeria, which is Lagos. There are local brands in Benin Kebbi. There's Labana rice. Labana is a indigenous miller. There's Wakot. They have their brand. They have rice which is equal to, comparable to Lake Rice, and is available. And the whole idea is not to displace those who are already doing it. Yes. Is to support the Nigerian rice dream by producing, packaging, and taking it to market, which is bigger, is more critical, so that once it is accepted there, it will support the entire value chain. So yes, you may not find Lake Rice in a market in Benin Kebbi, because there are equivalent brands, very, very good, which is what I eat. And we don't want to displace them. In fact, the initiative between Lagos and Kebbi, the Lake Rice, is not meant to displace the Nigerian rice brand. It's not meant for Lagos State government and Kebbi State government to be rice sellers. No. Yes. We came in at a very, very critical time to demonstrate that it can work. Yes. And we are very, very proud that under the leadership of President Muhammadu Buhari, both Lagos State and Kebbi State has proved that it can work. Yeah, Your Excellency, I really must appreciate Anachi. You know, they say variety is the spice of life. Yeah. Nigerians like variety. Yeah. We want to see Lagos, you know, the initiative, that transaction. We have a lot of rice in Kebbi and so many places. And it means, you know, the initiative is working. That Nigeria is a very big market. You can produce something in Abuja before you go to Gwagwalada, it's finished. And that's the encouraging factor as far as rice production is concerned. I will come to Dr. Idu when we come back from break. We're going to have a short break. Thank you. Perhaps maybe you have a plate of rice. And Thank you. Thank you. We're going to a short break. When we come back, Tuesday Live continues.
Nigerians, our fearless officers and men of the Nigerian military are winning the war against Boko Haram. Today, all occupied territories have been recovered and Boko Haram has been degraded. Our affected brothers and sisters are getting their lives back. However, they are now after you and me. In our mosques, churches, schools, motor parks, markets, entertainment centers, and public gatherings. Be vigilant. Be security conscious. Report suspicious persons, objects, and movements to the police and other security agencies. The security of our nation is a duty for you and me. Nigeria, unite against terrorism.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
The struggle for independence had been a long and tough one. Our founding fathers and compatriots sacrificed their comfort and even shed their blood. We cannot at this point in history afford to spirit away their sacrifices for immediate but temporary gains of today. Let us emphasize what unites and not what divides us. Working for the unity of purpose with a stronger vision for a better tomorrow. NTA, growing with the nation.
Nigeria, the only country we can train with remarkable potentials to excel. Let us believe in ourselves and change our attitude for the sake of our country and generations unborn. Let us revive our cultural values, which are our essence as a nation. Let us renew the spirit of patriotism and hope in our dear country. Do not take or give bribe. Be punctual always. No more African time. We can't expect to be global citizens and operate on African time. Join the queue. Insist that people are attended to on a first-come basis, no matter who they are or where they come from.
Nigeria, good people, great nation.
Make you report any crooked person, object or wakajube movement to police and security agent demo.
The security of our nation now work for all of us, so plus including me and you.
Nigeria, make we unite against terrorism. Now, Federal Minister of Information and Culture bring on this message.
NTA Tuesday Live, a network issue-oriented innovation talk show.
You're welcome back to NTA Tuesday Live. Rise Revolution is before us for discussion. We've been discussing with His Excellency Abubakar Atiku Bagudu, Governor of Kebbi State, President, Task Force on Rice and Wheat, and Vice Chairman, National Food Security Council. He's an economist and a banker. And that was why he was talking very well about the Anko Borough scheme and so many aspects of the economy too. And he was a teacher, and they say teacher carries it all. And even in conservation of rice, I suppose.
Yes.
We have Malin Ilyasu Awodi, Deputy National Secretary, Rice Farmers Association of Nigeria. He's still on the panel. And I would like to visit your office at Maitama. You used to hide it in Garki village or where?
In Gwagwalada.
Dr. Edwin, Associate Professor of Agriculture Extension and Team Leader, Rice Africa. And Rice Nigeria, Rice Africa, yes. You will tell us a lot of that. But you see sustainability matters. When you are producing an international, a global commodity, let me put it that way, you know, you have a lot of attention. You attract a lot of attention. It's just like when you have a good leader, it's very difficult to sell and easy to sell as well. Because you have other people that oppose some certain aspects of the leadership, of the crop cultivation or whatever. Now, we're dealing with the international community. Before we come to that challenge, let's continue with the value addition in rice production. I'm coming to you directly, Prof. The millers, both small and scale and large scale rice millers, they have their association, I suppose.
That's true.
And again, we talk about the Nigeria's humble technological base as far as sustainability is concerned. But let's start with the millers. How are they faring in this going together? Let me put it that way.
Yes, the value addition to the millers has really helped in removing the impurities and the stones that were really scaring people away from our locally made rice. And the last 7 years down the line, people were scared using the locally made rice because they feel that there's a lot of impurities, stone you are eating and you're writing all kinds of things. And then, but now the narrative have changed because of the new technologies that are in place. We are talking of integrated milling machines that are available now. And because of that, that has helped in adding values to our locally made rice. And because, one, the locally made rice is more nutritive, and even the taste. And that is what we are enlightening our people to know, that, one, because we have been able to address the challenges that of impurities in the locally made rice, now it's more nutritious, and it has more taste. So there's no reason for you to go for the imported rice that is going to be on the road, maybe in the sea, for 6 months, 3 months before arriving here. This is the value addition that
yes,
we have seen.
Before I will come to you for that technological innovation and what have you in the cultivation of rice. You know, very essential factor in agricultural production is extension services.
Yes.
The Anache question on anomalies, because extension does not just ends with educating the farmers how to apply fertilizers and water view. Even introduction and facilities in agricultural development and insurance and water view. Do we have that in place? We're still neglecting the extension service.
Yeah, because of the challenge with our traditional extension service, which is the ADP. I know with the withdrawal of First Bank and federal government from the support of the ADP, it was like bringing a load of 50 kg into a basket of 5 grams. So that has not helped the extension system.
I suppose in the 3 tiers of government,
yes,
agricultural department, ministries and whatever, they have extension service section.
No, the traditional extension service in this country is the ADP, the Agricultural Development Program.
Okay.
And this is where the extension system is rooted. And there was a model that they were using that was in place, which is the T&V model. In the T&V model, the researchers and the extension staff meet monthly and then transfer the technology to the village extension agents, who carry the technology to the contact farmers and to the farmers. And when the other farmers have problems, they go through the same route, through the contact farmers, to the village extension agent, to the also to the monthly technology review meeting. The subject matter specialists are there, and then to the researchers. But the moment the federal government and World Bank withdrew their funding, the support, because it was a funding arrangement where federal government, the World Bank was providing about 66% of the funding, and federal government about 22%. So the state was just carrying a burden of just 14%. So withdrawing this almost 86% of the funding and then pushing the whole load to the state has really not helped the extension service. And this is why we are seeing, every day we keep on seeing the wide gap in the extension farmers ratio, which is not really helping.
Yeah, is that the situation?
Yes, the situation, as the professor said, is that bad because it is difficult for you to go to a remote area in like ward. You may see just one extension worker or 2 for a whole local government. And you will be surprised. He gets no help. Even if you go to the field, he has no motorcycle. In the past, I think when they were under ADP or whatever you call it, they provide them with all these transportation devices so that they can go to the minute areas to give the services. He mentioned NRCI in Badegi. I was there some times ago. I was shocked what I saw.
It's developing?
No, it's not developing. It's not developing. That is a fact. So the government needs to put a lot of attention to such areas. In some states are better. In some states, the state government don't care about when you go to NADP, what we used to see in those good years.
Yes,
It's
70s,
not,
80s.
you know, if even their vehicles are broken down, no repairs on the rest of them. So it is really a sad situation. I think the government has to look
We still need the
critically into
ADP
that
system
area.
to be injected
Yeah.
into it. Okay. What of the production itself? Perhaps when you talk about this, it's very pathetic, the extension service and water. That is why perhaps people will think that I must come and see the governor for everything that I need, even if it's a program, a federal government program. Of course, it's a three-tier system of governance. But when we have extension services, everybody will be well coordinated.
That is true.
And what of the mechanization aspect? You know, our technology is very humble. And when we are competing with the international community.
Well, I think Nigeria is not doing bad recently because there are quite a lot of inputs supplied by the Federal Ministry of Agriculture, like planters, reapers, to help the small-scale farmers, cultivate and harvest their lands. And the Rice Farmers Association of Nigeria was able to secure during the last season, rainy season, about 150 tractors. And we have about 500 tractors now in Lagos. They are put on trackers before they are released. So in that respect, I think we're well mobilized to meet future farming during the dry season and the rainy season.
Yes.
And you see, as the professor said, if you go to villages now, the small millers, they are now provided with destoners and polishers to look out, to get the best for processed rice.
Yes.
So in that respect, there's a lot of improvement down the line.
I would like to add to what the chairman said, especially with regards to mechanization. I think one of the challenge we had with especially production aspect, mechanizing the production aspect for smallholder farmers is the gap from jumping from use of the traditional equipment of hoes and cutlasses to just tractor. Recently, we discovered that jump was too high for our local resource farmers. They are resource poor. Resource poor in that getting these tractors, repairing these tractors, knowing how to use these tractors, and then providing local goldsmiths that can help in providing repairs or alternatives, we're not there. And so
like in the villages, you have the blacksmiths that can fabricate certain things?
Yes, we have the blacksmiths. So the challenge was that the gap was too high. Now, there should have been an intermediate technology before the tractor. If there were intermediate technology, for instance, the cutlass and the hoes, the blacksmiths in the village could easily produce them. A farmer does not need to travel to the east to get the hoe or the cutlass. The local blacksmith can produce that. So also the intermediate technologies, there should have been intermediate technologies in place before we jump into the tractor.
Yes.
And that is what the advocacy that we are making now, that they should provide intermediate technologies so that local blacksmiths can easily provide alternative. If there is breakdown, if there is need for repair, if there is, they need to understand this. When we say science, science is understanding how things function. The local blacksmiths, they are supposed to understand how these things are made. So if the local people are using hoes and cutlasses and you just introduce tractor to them, you can see the gap in knowledge because you have not introduced any intermediate technology for them to graduate from the hoe and cutlass to. before moving to tractor that is a bit higher for them to comprehend.
Some kind of a chain reaction.
Yes.
To
so I think that we are advocating that there should be other intermediate technologies, and some of those intermediate technologies are really coming up. UNCAM is helping in producing some seed planters and some other intermediate technologies.
I think we have institutes, ABU area and so many places.
Yes, so this should help in providing that, and that will help the farmers so that the local blacksmith can quickly pick up this.
Okay, we'll continue with that, especially I'm itching to ask the governor about the international challenges, so to speak, But we have a caller on the line. Hello, you're welcome. This is Tuesday Live. You're welcome.
Good evening.
Good evening. You're welcome.
I am Abdullahi Bajar.
You're welcome, Abdullahi.
I'm calling you from Abuja.
Thank you.
My greeting goes to our guests in the stadium. I don't have anything to say. Only God will reward our noble President Muhammadu Buhari. When I was growing up, I'm hearing my father talking about Buhari. This is the real time I know what my father is talking about. When was my father died? Last 2012. I still remember it. That he's talking about Buhari. This is the real time that I know who is Buhari. May God bless our president. Ask him more help. I'm from Plateau State, and I'm local government. Garba what? I know what importance of our president is. For Nigeria, it's not only for West, for South, for East, or North, for whatever. It's for Nigeria. What I want to say here is that this our president is a God sent to assist us. Our future is very bright, as I see never come. This program is real. Mr. President, agriculture program is real. Around January, February, I was in my village. I saw tractors passing due to my road, go distributing the anchor blower, generator, pipes, fertilizer, seed, rice seed. I saw it here. This is the beginning of the I don't know what I'm going to say. It's only God will bless this our president.
Thank you very much, Abdullahi.
There's no amount of blackmailing, no amount of criticism that stopped me giving my vote to President Muhammadu Buhari. It's only Buhari I know. I don't know anybody.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, Abdullahi. Well, you know, when you are talking about stomach infrastructure, and you see that the wheel of progress is going on very fine.
He saw our tractors.
He said that he didn't know how to, you know, bring out his views for the public. Actually, what he's talking about it, all these progress report of the Buhari agricultural program, Mr. Governor. You see, we have Kebbi, Jigawa coming second, Taraba, Benue, Niger State. When you pick Benue alone, 1.7 million tons annually, valued at over 210 billion to national economy in the last 2 years. That is just one state. They call it the food basket of the nation. It appears when you're talking about rice, yet Kebbi is the first, and then followed by Jigawa, Taraba, and Benue. Almost Katsina, almost everywhere. Ogun State, Abakaliki rice, and what have you
for wet season.
For wet season.
Wet season.
Okay. And you have huge production. We wouldn't like to, well, food. When we are talking about food security, there's nothing like a glut, because we need it in abundance. Even Nigeria is a big market, let alone when we start exporting that lake rice and other rice produced across the country. And then you attract some attention. We talk about mechanization, how to sustain this production. What is the position of Nigeria? Nigeria is in a crossroad, or what? Or we have a pathway that we can continue with this progress report?
Well, we have pathway because all the indicators, mechanization penetration that have been spoken to ably by my two co-panelists is on the increase. The amount of appreciation, the cluster formation has done something to compensate even for the limited extension support, because the clusters are bodies of knowledge where knowledge is shared, and technology is helping. Today, farmers receive information instantaneously, maybe by sharing with others, and training schemes. For most anchor borrower beneficiaries, they have to undergo a training process that helps leapfrog their knowledge base, and that's why, in addition to better inputs, better seedlings, they have better planting knowledge, agronomic practices that help them, and this is all increasing. Rice Farmers Association, a very, very big association, and other commodity associations are now growing and mobilizing membership, registering, and doing a lot of things for themselves. Last meeting of the National Food Security Council, we met with all the research institutes. Nigeria is blessed. God knows the amount of talent that is in our research institutes, and President Muhammadu Buhari is encouraging them to now bring this talent to the fore. And I believe we will see more results of that. That's why we are able, with our limited resources, improve our seed offering, improve our agronomic practices, offering, using what is already available in the country. And even though we are speaking about rice here, but a lot have been achieved in other commodities. And this is all courtesy of the visionary leadership and support of institutions like Central Bank, Ministry of Agriculture, Commodity Associations, state governments, and the Nigerian people. So we are we believe we are on the pathway to demonstrating the competitiveness of our economy in rice and other commodities.
Yeah. Well, we have a caller online. Hello, you're welcome. This is Tuesday Live. You're welcome.
Hello.
Hello. Go ahead.
Hello.
Hello. You're welcome.
Hello.
Go ahead and speak.
Hello.
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 Go ahead and speak.
Hello. I commend the federal government. It's Ada calling from Jos. I commend the federal government on the steps taken to improve on rice production. Having said this, I feel a lot still has to be done to engage in massive production of rice during the dry season to mitigate the possible effects of flooding. Our borders are porous and have to be manned properly so as to beat the activities of smugglers. Once we have the local rice flooding the market, the price will naturally come down. My happiness today is that the Nigerian rice tastes better because that's what we eat now in my house, now that it's properly processed. I said kudos to the federal government. And it is more nutritious. So we should start patronizing what we produce. That's the problem we have in Nigeria. We should be a bit patient. It will get better. I have the belief that we'll get there sometime, someday. God bless Nigeria.
Thank you very much. Yes, you've heard it, and we talk about irrigation scheme.
Yeah.
And Another thing is the illegal importation of rice into the country. Let me come to the governor now before I come to. You see, the flooding to some people is a blessing because you have a longer period of irrigation, of dry season farming. Is it the situation in Kebbi?
I think Kebbi State is blessed with two major rivers, River Rima, which crosses the state from the north to south, about 371 kilometers, River Niger, over 350 kilometers, River Zamfara, and small bodies of waters. So all along the river banks, there has been significant damage caused by flooding. But what tends to happen is that when the waters begin to recede, which is first week of November up to the middle of November, most farmers can use the residual moisture and plant again. And we have already started supporting them to do so. And across the states which are flooded by riverbank, this is possible. And that is why I earlier on said Mr. President had agreed to chair, as he has done before, the meeting of the National Food Security Council to look at these issues holistically, having the benefit of assessment reports by both states and federal agencies so that more support can be discussed. And certainly the interest of the Nigerian farmers who have demonstrated their resilience is uppermost in Mr. President's mind. And we believe that that forum will provide him the opportunity to assess what kind of measures will be put in place to furthermore support our farmers and other investors in the value chain, and even tangentially our fishermen, because some of them have also been affected by the flood.
Yes. Yeah. The irrigation. How do we say double our production when we have dry season farming? For the rain
of course, irrigational facilities are best for, rice in dry season. And in Nigeria, we have a lot of states with a lot of irrigation schemes. Like Kano, I think we have up to 40. Same with Sokoto. We have some in some areas that are not properly used, but I know farmers, because of this Uncle Borrow's program, a lot of farmers are now showing interest to go into dry season farming. And the registration was started about 2 weeks ago. It's quite encouraging. The reports we're getting from some states on this irrigation farming, because you get more rice when you irrigate, because everything is controlled, unlike the rainy season. I know during the first Uncle Borrow's program in Kebbi, I learned, so it was CB who was telling us this in Lafia, that a farmer got up to 15 tons per hectare. And recently, a lady an insurance company who did a small program in Kebbi, in Gaski, that is His Excellency's one of the local governments, 12.6 metric tons, and not one person or two persons, quite many of them. And the average production was 4.5, average, 4.5 tons, which means the least a farmer is getting now is at that level, from 4.5 up to 12 to 13 tons. So that is a very wonderful achievement. And well, I think there are a lot of areas where dams have been sought, and I think the federal government will rise up to the occasion because of the achievement so far in rice production in the country. And I'm sure the president would like to see, not in the very near future, Nigeria to start exporting rice, because the smuggled rice, mark you, Benin Republic, in Niger, they don't eat imported rice. they eat Nigerian made rice. What I learned they normally do is to go and rebag our rice in Benin, put it in another bag, then return to Nigeria to sell as foreign rice. Because they don't eat it because they know it's dangerous, it's cancerous. So, and our visit to the Colonel Hamid Ali, what he told us was quite devastating, because he said he's losing a lot of men and that he is not going to sleep. He must ensure that all these smugglers are punished, because Nigeria should not just sleep and then allow some countries to, in a way, to bring in smuggled rice that will kill our people. So I think a lot of action is being done by the federal government, I learned. So this is the position at the moment.
Yes. So this is illegal importation of rice.
Yes. I think, the destruction, like the chair said, is coming from importers and smugglers, because they want to have their ways, and the only way they could have their way is to tell the populace that we are not ready we don't have enough to feed the country, and so that is the essence for their activities. But I think government is doing well in that direction to totally stop the importation. That what we have now and what this country have is enough to sustain us, because there has been an increase over the years. Before now, you know that the gap was just like half, 2.5 was what we are producing. If you talk of 2010 down the line, producing as low as 2.5 million metric tons, and then importing about 2.5 million metric tons. But now, even though with the increase in the consumption demand, we are still closing the gap between demand and then supply. So there's no need for people to bring in produce that is not going to help the people of this country.
Yeah, we have a caller online. Hello. This is Tuesday Live.
Hello.
Yeah, hello. You're welcome.
Yeah. My name is Alaji Babagana. I'm calling from Kano. First, I want to commend the federal government under President Muhammad Buhari for this rice revolution. Then secondly, I want to call my fellow Nigerians that just yesterday I spoke with somebody on this foreign rice, and he told me that some of the foreigners being imported into Nigeria, they were stored for a minimum of 5 to 10 years, and they now import it into Nigeria, and we use this one as a foreign rice, while all the nutrients that we're supposed to derive from those rice are no more there. So our rice, since now that Nigeria were able to produce rice, let us embrace our own rice so that we make our farmers to get jobs instead of giving jobs to others. We are always crying about joblessness while we don't want to give jobs to our own farmers. Thirdly, what I want to tell my fellow Nigerians is that this is a very good time for us. This rice revolution is the best thing that happens to Nigeria, and we are very proud of it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Yes, you want to react to what he said? You're comfortable.
I think he said the obvious.
The obvious, yes.
I think in addition to what he said, NAFDAC have done a series of tests on imported rice, particularly smuggled rice, and most of it does not meet the human consumption standard. And so we need to be very clear about that. Most of the smuggled rice is either substandard quality or rice that have been in storage for several years, treated with preservatives, brought and sometimes produced in places where the iron content or industrial contaminants of even the water in the places where it's of doubtful quality yes. and hazardous to human consumption. So that is why some of the smugglers are able to offer what seemingly is cheaper prices. We have done a number of tests. There's nobody who can bring rice of equivalent Nigerian quality from anywhere around the world and sell it for less than 15,000 naira. It's not possible per 50 kilo.
Yes. Yeah, I want to add. You see, I think Nigerians should be grateful because we understand in the next few years, all the Asian countries who try to import their rice outside will stop because of the population explosion. So it means Nigeria has potentials and the wherewithal to ensure that we produce for Nigerians and Africa as a whole. So there is need for us to put everything into place to ensure that our generations don't suffer down the line. Thank you.
Yeah. One beautiful thing about the rice revolution and development of agriculture, resuscitating agriculture as the mainstay of the economy, is the value chain of employment generation. The nation has been crying over time that perhaps if the older generation, who are peasant farmers, believe in peasantry, are ebbing away that population. The younger generations, in the past, I want to believe that in the past, didn't want to go back to land. The situation today is different. Why is it different? And how do we sustain that push by government? Ankobora scheme, extension services, new form agricultural production that is going technology and what have you, especially the ICT world today. You communicate and get your inputs and get market.
And that is also helping even the extension service. We are advocating and pushing for cyber extension and that make use of the recent technologies that are in place right now for extension purpose. But come to the value chain and how to engage youth in the value chain. Now, the cluster arrangement is a good example of where youths can easily come in. The cluster arrangement offers the youth that opportunity because of the forward and backward integration. The backward integration that the local people can provide the raw materials while there will be large-scale processors to take off the produce from their hands. And in the value chain, it's not just the farmer and the processor. The marketers are in the value chain.
Yes.
The support services are in the value chain. And the youth can come in any of this chain. The youth must not be involved in the production. They could be involved in the processing, in the marketing, in the support service. This is the whole chain. Down from the field down to the table, we have the chain. And at every of this node, the youth can come in there. And the youth are getting involved in this area, apart from the production aspect.
Yes. Any area you are encouraging your members in this value chain is not just cultivation, processing, marketing, and what have you. Even the chaps from the rice is marketable, I suppose.
Our farmers are not only, involved in production only. We are also into milling. We are also into milling, and because the arrangement of refund, we have a secretary, milling and processing within the strata of the organogram of refund. And we also have secretary marketing. So if the uncle borrowing, you can pay in cash or in kind. If the farmer does not feel he wants to pay you with the rice, we have, we have a marketing secretary who takes charge of that. The refund will collect it. We either give it to the millers who process it ourselves. So in all the value chains, refund is involved, so that we don't lose out at all. Maybe that's why we are now in Metama.
Yes, the governor. At the state level, how do you encourage the youths and the general public on the value addition?
I think we have been very encouraged about the participation of the youth, because they use a lot of technology, and now that the rice farming has been transformed into a business where they see millions being made, they see the opportunities for utilizing technology, utilizing ICT to do more, and they're very creative, and they have been following the whole concept of precision agriculture, because agriculture is a science. The more consistent you are in the scientific principles, the more money you make. So we have many young men and women who have gone into rice farming, both in Kebbi State and in other parts of Nigeria, which is a very positive story of this revolution, because hitherto you see the reluctance, like you said, of younger ones to embrace. But now that they see it as a business, I think we are having the opportunity of many of them taking up the interest.
On this, perhaps we would like to know that there is a great revolution in rice processing and rice production. Cross River states, maybe you are aware, they are into, they have automated way of doing the transplanting. They can move seed from Cross River to Kano. They have all the equipments to transplant and go back to Calabar.
Yeah,
it's massive, and they have one of the largest integrated mills in Abuja, which will take, which can produce several tons per day. It's a new revolution which I'm sure the governor here may be eyeing that. Maybe he will better that performance in the next, 1 or 2 years.
The governors have a good way of interacting with each other.
The president, I was privileged to accompany Mr. President on the commissioning of the rice seedling plant, which is a commendable thing by Cross River State government. And indeed, Mr. President even directed that the Federal Ministry of Agriculture should support the rice seedling plant in order to enable uptake of their improved seedling. But that's just an indication of the whole value chain working. Investors are coming in different states across different activities. I have been to so many states with the Minister of Agriculture and the Central Bank Governor. Mills are coming up everywhere: Anambra, Cross Rivers, Ogun, Kogi, Lagos, Jigawa, and many other states. And currently there are many other initiatives, mills coming up, seedling plants being planted, and processing of various types. And what you interestingly, you raised the issue of chaff. One of the things about rice milling is its environmental effect, because the chaff can be used to power the whole plant.
Like biogas and all this?
No, to actually generate electricity for the plant, which is used
from rice chaff.
Yes, in the parboiling units.
Yes.
And most of the Nigerian integrated millers are using that. Secondly, the chaff can be used as briquette for wood, which rather than burning, cutting wood is used because it's a very efficient.
And it's a good fertilizer too.
Yeah, good fertilizer, good environmental control because you don't sell.
So nothing is lost there. Yes. And the byproduct is being used again.
Yeah, one vital issue in really developing production in the farmer, feeder road. Yeah. Beside the feeder roads, now we have infrastructure development by the government, roads construction and railway system. How will that enhance rice production?
Yeah, because the crop of farmers that you know is especially for perishable products like tomatoes and other products, is hard to move this quickly from the point of production to the market. And so the rail system especially is one good thing that is really going to help invest in decongesting the road so that there will be flow of traffic, and then getting the product timely to the market is one of the things that the farmer will be happy for. So I think the rail system, government should see how to increase the rail across the country from not across the countries, south to north and then west, east. Every part of this country should have a good rail system so that evacuation of agricultural produce will be easier.
Yes. Nigeria is a land of many countries, a land of many bounties and common historical antecedents. And certainly, there's no one single feature that could give you the correct impression of Nigeria as a land of many bounties. Fundamentally, the land and the human resource. And even in economists, the fundamentals of factors of production, land, capital, and labor. And the government is coming to give the capital, you have the people, you have the labor and other inputs. How do you see Nigeria? Just as President Muhammadu Buhari said, Nigeria has a window of opportunity to fulfill our long-standing potential of pulling ourselves together and realizing our mission as a great nation. When you have food security, rice, for instance, you can import and you can do it to feed yourselves and export. How do we have that collective responsibility to forge ahead as a nation that will occupy ourselves in that exalted position of greatness among the Committee of Nations? Yes.
I think that is what we demonstrate that is happening with the rice revolution. Among other initiatives, we have taken a crop, and today the value chain is working. Today we are on the way to being self-sufficient in that commodity. Today we are on our way to demonstrating our competitiveness vis-a-vis other countries. Of course, we are not able to subsidize or support as much as they can.
Yeah.
And that shows the capacity, because even without offering system of support that other countries with whom we are trading are offering, we are yet already competitive. And this is one of many commodities for which the federal government is leading Nigeria to develop. Yes. So by the time we begin to explore our potentials, to generate more out of our potential in these commodities, our economy will continue to boom. One of the most striking things that have been achieved under the able leadership of President Muhammadu Buhari is Nigeria's recovery from recession in a very, very short time, which among all the countries that experienced recession, we got out of it in the shortest possible time.
Yes.
So it shows the vision working, and I see it working in a lot of commodities, in a lot of value chains, in other sectors where potentials are being explored, are being developed, and Nigerians are responding. So I believe we have a moment in order to demonstrate our ability as nation and take our position in pride of place in the Committee of Nations.
What I will add here is that before 2015, Nigeria was spending almost $1 billion every day. So when you take 365 days, you are talking of 365 billion in foreign exchange, which maybe comes to about $1 billion. These have been stopped.
Yes.
So it means our foreign reserve, instead of being depleted by our consumption of rice, it has gone up. Because there was a time Wella was telling us, she was telling us that Nigeria had no money, our foreign reserve is almost zero. But recently, I discovered that they said our foreign reserve is about $48 billion.
Yes.
And people were saying it was a lie. Let them go through, let them go on. It's not something hidden.
Yes.
You know, of course, I think that is one of the positive achievement of this administration.
Yeah, this reminded me of something. I'm coming to the governor. Okay. His last words, yes.
Yes. Yeah. Agricultural Cluster Development Agency is one thing that government should establish to fast-track the development of clusters. What we are seeing in rice production or in the rice industry should be replicated in other crops. You mentioned millets, tomatoes, and all other crops. So if that is going to happen, there should be an agency that we call Agricultural Cluster Development Agency that will help government to oversee and fast-track the development of cluster in this country. What we are seeing, the success story we are seeing in the rice industry could be replicated in other areas. And just imagine, if you are having the same success story in other subsectors, then we are going to be a very prosperous nation.
Yes.
So, government should establish that agency that will fast-track the development of cluster in this country.
Yes, well, let me come to the governor for your final words. When Ali Elias was talking about the tractors, we started with the tractors kind of. So maybe now not talking about the increase in foreign reserve. They are saying that you government import paddy in order to feed your millers. Whereas internally the millers are saying we are not having enough because there's avalanche. Sorry, we cannot cope with the demand by farmers, bringing goods. What is the situation?
I think there's no Nigerian miller I know, and I interact with them, both at the association level and individually. In fact, most millers have today in storage 80% to 90% of their annual capacity in storage of paddy. And all small-scale millers, women processors, are awash with paddy. Like I said earlier, even with the flooding, we have not seen a significant drop. There has been maybe a 4% increase in price because people are anxious about the effect of flooding. So to suggest that we import is ridiculous. I have been following stories that have been developing over the last 1 week, which is accredited to USAID, and that Nigeria needs to import. We have interacted with the USAID and we requested them to tell us their basis, and part of what we have come about is that their study is based on a model which aggregate data using satellite surveys of flooded areas and assumptions that this is an election year where demand for rice for election activity by politicians will be on the increase, and that also that part of West Africa depend upon us, so if we have a problem, then there would be problem. But this is contrary to the evidence out there. The data from official sources in Thailand showed that the total export to West Africa from January to September is about 1.1 million metric tons. And this is to whole of West Africa. And understandably, the West African countries, most of the Francophone West African countries, they eat white polished rice. They don't take parboiled rice, and most of the import is of that. So we see that even at most, it is a little proportion that is being smuggled or brought. Secondly, another major exporter to West Africa is India, and they provided data between January to July, and their export to West Africa, in total, not Nigeria, West Africa, is 402,000 metric tons. So in between the two countries that are exporting to West Africa, is about 1.5 million tons so far this year. So there's no way one can support the evidence that 3 million tons are being imported in Nigeria, or 1 million tons is being imported into Nigeria, because the whole of West African country are net rice importers. They don't produce enough.
Well, thank you very much for that contribution, Governor, and thank you very much, Malam Ilyas, for your own tremendous contribution. I know you will borrow us our office there when Mr. Governor comes to town, so that he has another liaison office over there. Professor Edwin Idu, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Yes, well, you've heard it all. We're talking about rice revolution in the country, and it's indeed revolution that all hands are on deck, and even the rice farmers are saying that we need more millers. So why do we import paddy into the country? And the cultivation is going, and one day or some other time we'll call you to talk about wheat production. That's another very thorny area as far as international politics and transactions is concerned. And we know we've crossed the Rubicon as far as the rice cultivation is concerned. Thank you very much for coming. That has been Tuesday Live. Continue to eat Nigerian rice, and perhaps patronize the cultivation of the rice, processing, involve yourself in the value addition, the value chain. Thank you very much. Thank you for watching. I am Aliyu Baba Barrow. Good night.
Thank you.